We're going to start today Perek Yud Gimel, and we will try to learn the few psukim dealing with Eretz P'lishtim. So, the pasuk starts, Perek Yud Gimel, V'Yeshua zokein bo bayomim, V'yomer Hashem elov, ato zokanto, boso bayomim, Ve'oretz nish'aro harbe me'oid l'rishto. זאת רש"י, ממה שאמרתי לאברהם, נשארו לרשתו שלא הניח בשו. We were very old, and we did not conquer and capture the ganze Eretz Yisrael. זויס האורץ הנשארס, כל גליlois הפלישתים וכל הגשורי, מן השיחור אשר על פני מצרים, ועד גבול אקרוין צפוינו, לכנעני תחושב. 15 סרני פלישתים, האזוסי והאשדודי, האשקלוני והגיתי, והאקרויני והאבים. Okay? So, shteido, that there is a part of Eretz Yisrael which is Nisheres. Zokt Rashi, min hashichur hu Nilus u Nachal Mitzrayim, u somuch litchum mikzoya droimis ma'arovi shel Eretz Yisrael, kemoi she'omar be'ele masei, ולומדנו שלא כובש יהושע בחייב כל מיצר הדרוימי, אלא במדבר צינו ההר החלק האוילה שעירו עד הנילוס ותחום עזה, אומר למעלה מקודש ברנע עד עזה. Rashi learns that the word shiur that we find in the pasuk, which is Nachal Mitzrayim, is the Nilus, the Nile River. As they state in Rashi. When Azay state also in Targum Yonis and Alateire, if you look in the Gvulos in Parshas Masei, it says, V'nach nosav ha'gvul me'atzmoi nachla Mitzrayim v'hoyuto itzoisav yamo, zok the Targum Nachal Mitzrayim, Nilus de Mitzrayim. So he learns that the Nachal HaNilus, the Nilus we find in the Parshas Alateire in Sefer Shmois, this Nilus, this Yeor, is Nachal Mitzrayim. Azay state. If I look in the psukim in some other places in Tanakh, I look in Divrei Hayomim Aleph in Perek Yud Gimel, I see state Vayakel David is called Yisrael Mishichoi Mitzrayim V'Alevoi Hamas, and other psukim Ve'ato Malecho Lederech Mitzrayim Lishtois Mei. The psukim in Yeshayahu and Yirmiyahu are dealing with the Shiur. All the psukim are seemingly to describe the Nachal Shiur Mitzrayim as a very substantial river or Yehoir or lake, whichever way you want to call it, which the Mitzrim were using lishtois, sai for ktsir Yehoir tvuoso, for agricultural reasons and as well for drinking. The Ibn Ezra, if you look at the Ibn Ezra says, Feish Alateire, Nachlo Mitzrayim v'nos Einoi ha'yeor. Nachal Mitzrayim is not the Yeor. So if the Gvul Eretz Yisrael in the southwest goes to Nachal Mitzrayim, it's not the Yeor all the way down south, but it's something else. What is it? Ishteituch in Kafter V'Ferach. Kafter V'Ferach, in the beginning of Perek Yud Aleph, Kafter V'Ferach was a sefer written by one of the Kadmonim, the Rishonim, by the name of Shiurei Sefer, and he made a Sefer Kafter V'Ferach, which is the most reliable early source of Gvulos Eretz Yisrael, and he brings down from Rabbeinu Saadia Goyen, and I read his lashon: V'nosav ha'gvul me'atzmoino Nachal Mitzrayim, v'yestader min Mazal el Vadi el Arish. Vadi el Arish is, you know, the city El Arish is in the middle of the Midbar Sinai, when they conquered the Sinai desert. It is in the middle, in the center of the island of Sinai, in north. Basically, it's much further north, and it goes from the middle of Midbar Sinai. It goes north of the Sinai desert, going up north and pouring into the Mediterranean next to Gaza. This is according to the Kafter V'Ferach, B'Shem Rav Saadia Goyen, that the Gvul Hadrom is big nafkeminis. The Gvul Hadreimi is there. And today in Shemitah, there's a shiles of bringing vegetables. Shaila, how far down does it go You can bring fruits and vegetables from there. They grow some there. There's something called Arava. I don't want to get involved. It's a separate subject. But in any event, Shitas Sakaftu Aferach Rav Saadia Goyen and Ibn Ezra, that Nachal Mitzrayim is not the Yeor, but rather Vadi El Arish, which is much further up north, in the north of the Midbar Sinai. There's a tshuva, it's a very interesting tshuva Saradvaz in Siman Beis Alpaim Reish Vov. That's the Siman. Somebody wants to look inside. That he brings one of the G'dol Ador, וכבר ראיס אחד מגדול הדור שהויה במצרים, והוא אומר שהוא דר בארץ ישראל. כיוון למצרים הוא מצד נילוס לצד ארץ ישראל. There's one G'dol Yisrael, is the Easter to live in Mitzrayim. בזמן הזה, לא יסור שוב, you can go, you can dwell there, you can live there, you can go back there. It's a bunch of Yisurim. Zog der Radvaz, he saw one of the G'dol Ador that lived in Mitzrayim, but north of the Nilus. Because since Nachal Mitzrayim is the Nilus, so if he lives anywhere north of that, that's considered he lives in Eretz Yisrael. ובלוי סופק שהוא תוס מפורסם, שהרי נילוס סומך למצרים שיוצא משם בני ישראל, ואם הוא גבל ארץ ישראל, איך נשכן שם, דלת מייספרס על דיידם, מסורס האמס הבור, כי נחל מצרים הוא הניקה היום ואדי אל הריש, והוא מבדיל בגבול מצרים לגבול ארץ ישראל. So, the Radvaz comes along and he says, and the raya is because it says that the Isur is Daled Me'as Parsa, Daled Me'as Parsa. If you look at the Nile River, there is no 400 Parsa. Parsa is Daled Mil, it's supposed to be 1600 mil. There is no distance from the Nilus till the Gvula Ma'aravi, 400 Parsa, Behecherch, that it starts much further east going west, and therefore the Nachal Mitzrayim is Vadi El Arish. Okay. This is just for clarity. The Novi says, L'Knani Techoshev Chameshes Sarnei P'lishtim. Who are they? Aza, Azosi, Ashdodi, Ashkeloni, Hagiti, Ve'ekreni, Ve'avim. I count 6. I don't count 5. Steht Chameshes al, right? So, zogt Rashi, Shisha Sronim, Umoine, Mitchilos and Kror Chamesh. Why? Omar Rabbi Yochanan Indruki Shelohem Chamisho HaChashuvim, Chamisho HaYushua Avim, and Umoinim Nasronim HaChashuvim. So it says over here, Maisa, the Hoipshe, Sarnei P'lishtim, the ministers, the kings, some Medrash it's called a king, it's called the Moishel, they were ruling those 5 cities in southwest of Eretz Yisrael, where we have today, like the Gaza, Gaza, goes from Ashdod and Ashkelon, and Gas, and Ekron, and Azor, and Avim. And Avim, Vaistos, wasn't so dominant, so therefore he didn't count them. The Sarnei P'lishtim, the kings of P'lishtim, the Moishlim, the governors, were only in those 5 cities. Abel Maisa Lichura, Shteto Kivyochel Yeshua left it behind, they didn't capture the P'lishtim. So Vaist Ois that Eretz P'lishtim was given to Bnei Yisrael as part of Kibush Eretz Yisrael. Let's make a little Seder. It's a little bit complicated, but we'll try to make Abisal Seder though, in order to know what is really Eretz P'lishtim and what happened throughout history. If I open up the Pesukim in Parshas Noach, it says like this: Ubnei Cham. Cham was one of the 3 sons of Noach. Ubnei Cham, Kush, Umitzrayim, Veput, Veknaan. Cham has 4 sons. Put and Mitzrayim, Kush and Mitzrayim, Put and Knaan. Let's focus on the 2 sons of Cham. One of them is called Mitzrayim, one of them is called Knaan. Mitzrayim Yolad es Loidim, Anomim, Lehovim, Naftuchim, Patrusim, Kasluchim, Asher Yotzu Misham P'lishtim. Ve'es Kafteir. So it says that clearly, a pasuk mefurish, that Mitzrayim's one of the descendants, one of the children of Mitzrayim, is Kasluchim, Asher Yotzu Misham P'lishtim. Kivyochel, state in the pasuk Pshuta Shel Mikra, that the Kasluchim, who are one of the 7 sons of Mitzrayim, who is a son of Cham, had some kind of Yotzei Chalotzov, Yotzu Misham P'lishtim. And Kaftorim. Kaftorim is also one of the descendants, one of the children of Mitzrayim. The straight children. And P'lishtim is the Kasluchim, where they gave birth to the P'lishtim. This is the second generation, third generation, steht impossible. Weiter. V'Knan, let's go to the fourth son of Knan. Yola, the Tzilim, B'choyer, V'escheses, Ha'evusi, V'amoyer, V'agigoshi, V'achibe, V'arki, V'asini, V'arvadi, V'atzamri, V'achamosi, V'achakach nofutzu, Mishpachoyis HaKnani. Okay? So the Zion Amomim, which we just read, is Hasora Amomim, we spoke about it, the three of them were given away, that's in Nevayadim, but let's just get to this. Ha'emoyer, Ha'girgoshi, Ha'chivi, Ha'evusi, Chiti, Emoiri, all those Shiva Amomim, those are children of Knan, who is a brother of Mitzrayim. And it comes out that the Shiva Amomim, which dwelled in Eretz Yisrael in the time of the Yisrael coming in, Zman Yeshua, are the kinder from Knan, the descendants. Emoiri, they produced the whole Shevet, the whole Am. It's called the Am, it's called the Shevet. In Chazal, it has different names. What do we call the Zion Amomim? No, but Zion Amomim, it's Am. So the Emoiri, the Chiti, the Yevusi, the Girgoshi, all of them are children, descendant, Einiklach, of Knan ben Chom. The P'lishtim, however, they're not children of the Knainim. They have no shaykhs to the Knainim. They are Einiklach from the andere Bruder, from the other brother called Mitzrayim, who had all these Naftuchim and Patrusim and Kaftoyim, and one of the sons called Kasluchim had a child, P'lishtim. So, Koponim, if I look straight in the Torah, ich darf nicht gehen mit Merchak Tovi Lachmo, steht doch klar that the P'lishtim, by Yoitze Mitzrayim, that they're Atzetzoim, they're descendant of the Mitzrayim, of the brother called Mitzrayim, and only the Asora Amamim, of which 7 of them were given to be captured, the Tzetzoi Knan. So the question being asked, it tells over here, Yeshua, Zoi, Sorotzkin, Isheres, and they start counting the side of P'lishtim, Azosi, Vayimonim, they're all Sronim, kings, governors, Moishlim, whatever you want to call them, but they're all P'lishtim. They're P'lishtim, Vu Kuntarayin, okay, they dwelled also, Bishchenes, it's in the proximity, the corporation limits of this southwest of Eretz Canaan, but it belonged to the P'lishtim. And the question is, the Kibush Ha'aretz L'chur was only Eretz Zion Amomim, and not their cousins. There's Elta Zayda's cousins, which were children of, descendant of Kasluchim, who gave birth to the P'lishtim. If I look in Sefer Shoftim, there is in length described in Sefer Shoftim all the milchamas Israel had with the P'lishtim throughout 300 years. And he said a bunch of milchamas, and then it goes to the Tkufa of Yishimshen HaGibur, and goes weiter to the Tkufa of Eli HaKoyen, of Shmuel HaNavi, HaMelech Shaul, and HaMelech David. Throughout, these from Shimshon till David is over 100 years of milchamas, and this 100 years, there were always shibudim and milchamas with the P'lishtim. The P'lishtim surface on the radar of Klal Yisrael through Had Milchamas. By the way, we always say Kibush Rishon, Kibush Kedusha Rishon, Kibush Lashav, Kibush Los. Over Kibush Rishon is Kibush Yeshua, which we established Kama v'Kama Pom b'Shem the Ramban and the Goyen is Meirich. The Kedusha Rishon, the Kibush Rishon, is from starts the commencement is in Yeshua and goes throughout all the Tkufa after the Yeshua, the 15 Shoftim, until Shmuel Hanavi, until Shaul HaMelech, and thereafter David Shlomo, until the beginning of Hamikdash. This is entire period of a few hundred years, over 350, 400 years. That's called Kibush Yeshua. But it seems like Kadosh Baruch Hu is giving a tzivah to Yeshua. You did not capture the P'lishtim. If I look at the P'lishtim, I see the P'lishtim that they were the one who were Machriv Mishkan Shilui. Mishkan Shilui, which was established by David after 14 years of Mishkan in Gilgal. He built the Mishkan Shiloh, which lasted for 369 years. Where was it destructed? Who killed Eli HaKoyen and Shtei Bonov and the whole Horav Mishkan Shiloh? That was done through the P'lishtim, and they took in Shevi, they took as a prisoner of war, they took the Aron Bris Hashem, and they only gave it back after they had much trouble. They understood that this is Miyad Hashem, and they gave back the Aron. Afterwards, we also find that Shaul HaMelech and Yonasan, his son, and had a milchama with P'lishtim, and Yonasan and Shaul were also killed by the P'lishtim. The P'lishtim are always there. Now, we want to amo fa'alamo, understand who are these P'lishtim. Is it, koydem kol, is their land part of Eretz Yisrael? We'll soon see Pashtus. It's not. Pashtus is not part of Eretz HaKleinim, as we saw before. They're a niklach of Mitzrayim, not of Klan. B, is the Amma Plishti throughout generation change Poshat Tzura Velovash Tzura, and perhaps they have a shayches to the Zion Amomim. And a third issue, we find that Avram and Yitzchok have some business that they're doing with Avimelech, Melech Plishtim. Sai Avram with Sarah, Sai Yitzchok and Rivka, and they make a shvu and they make a bris. Is this the same Avimelech? Is he the Zelba Plishtim? Are we talking about the Zelba Plishtim that we find later on throughout generation till being Beis Hamikdash Harishon? If I look at the Ramban al Torah, and the Ramban says by the Plishtim, where it says that the Kasluchim and the son Plishtim, zog the Ramban, Ema kaftorim she'olchu lotu lהם enichu v'inichu oretz kaftor la'acheim ha'kasluchim וכובשו להם ארץ ששמו פלושס, ונכרעו אחר כך פלישתים על שם האורץ. והוא מה שאומר הכוסוף, כפתורים היוצאים מכפתר ישמידו מסועבים, ויושבו תחתום, והם מבני כסלוחים יושב ארץ כפתר, שם האורץ פלושס. The Ramban seems to be saying, I'm just not going to start right now learning up the Ramban, I'm just going to say, B'ktsiras Oimer. What does the Ramban say? The Ramban said that the Kaftorim came and they were kovish the Avim, and the Avim is the Chivim. The Ramban throughout the territory in Kama Makoim says the Avim, the Ain is Mischalach with the Chef. That's a Chivi. So the Kaftorim, who are descendant of Mitzrayim, went and captured the Oretz from the Avim, which is the Knainim. And they settled, okay, this Kaftorim, which are Einiklach of Mitzrayim, they settled in a place called Ploshes. The land was called Ploshes. That was the name of the Mokim. And throughout time, since they came, this Kaftorim, which are Einiklach of Mitzrayim, since they settled in Eretz Ploshes, so therefore they were called Plishtim. They called Plishtim because they lived in Eretz, in the Chevel Eretz, which was called Ploshes at the time of the Avim, which are the Chivim. Right? So, even before the Kaftorim was lived there, the Chevel Eretz was called Ploshes, and they called Plishtim al Shem Ha'aretz, not on the name of the Anoshim Plishtim. In other words, the Kaftorim are not the original Plishtim. The original Plishtim are the Avim, and the Avim is the Knainim, because they're the Chivim. The Chivim is one of the Zion Amomim, which is the Tzetzoim of Knan. But since Kaftorim, which is the Tzetzo of Mitzrayim, came and captured it from the Avim, which are the Chivim, which is Zion Amamim, later on, as I state in the Ramban, later on throughout generation, they converted, they changed the name, or they started to be called Plishtim. Hagam, genetically, they are not Plishtim, they're Kaftorim, the Tzetzoim of Mitzrayim, and not of Canaan. They captured, in other words, the original Eretz Ploshes was dwelled by the Knainim in the Chivim, which is one of the sons of the Knainim. When the Kaftorim fought with the Avim and they took it away, they set in Eretz Ploshes. Soon we'll see what the boundaries of Eretz Ploshes is. And Al Shem Ha'aretz, they were called Plishtim. When did the Kaftorim, state in Posuk, the Kaftorim went and took over? When did the Kaftorim make this milchame and took away the nachla of their distant cousin from the Avim, which are the Chivim, which dwelled there before? In the Torah, if I look in the Torah, I see Vayikrisu Shneim Bris beBe'ersheva Vayokam Avimelech uFichel Sar Tzvoi Vayeshuvu El Eretz Plishtim. Avram Avinu steht Vayogar Avram be'Eretz Plishtim Yomim Rabim. Psukim in the Torah. When Avram goes to Sora, it states Vayomer Avram El Sora Ishtoi Achoisihi Vayishlach Avimelech Melech Grar Vayikach Sora. Okay. So weiter, Vayi Rov später bei Yitzchok, Vayi Dvor Boretz Milvad HaRov HaRishon Shehoy B'nei Avrom, Vayelech Avimelech, Yitzchok El Avimelech Melech P'lishtim Gror. So Gror is one of the cities of P'lishtim, and we find Avimelech was called Melech P'lishtim. It doesn't say in the Torah that Azo, this psukim that we have over here, Azo, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Gos, it doesn't say the Chelik Be'eretz Ploshes, right? And on the contrary, if I look in the psukim in Parshas Noach, it says, Vayi Gvul HaKnaynim Mitzidem Boyach El Groro Ad Azo, Boyach El Sdoima Ve'ad Moir Ve'admo Utzroim Ad Losha. Okay? It says that the Mishpachois HaKnaynim, which are the Tzetzoim of Cham, but they're not the Kaftoirim and the Kasluchim, which were Tzetzoy Mitzrayim, as we said before. So what is really the standing of these cities, which is the cities we're learning right now, which basically Yeshua is being told that he didn't do the job. This Ashkelon, Ashdod, all this Ekron, Gas, Azo, what is the status of this city? If I look in the Torah, I usually like to go ahead and look all over the places in all the sources in order to derive to some kind of a crystal ball as to know where we're holding and what we're doing with this Eretz P'lishtim. There are three nations that are mentioned in the Torah as Yoshvei Eretz P'lishtim. One of them is the Knainim, one of them is the Avim, which is the Chivim, which is a Tzetzoy of Knainim, and one is the Kaftorim. So, since the Knainim dwelled, as everything stated in Parshas Noach, right after the Parsha of Deiraf Logo, the Knainim dwelled in Eretz P'lishtim, as they state, Grorad Azo. So, Vaistois, and Avrom Avinu is giving the Eretz HaMuftachas is there, as they state in Ramban and Omfang Parsha Dvorim in Perek Beis, Posuk of Gimel, somebody wants to see, so the Ramban. So, it comes out that since the Knainim dwelled in Eretz P'lishtim, there after Deiraf Logo, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him he gives you Eretz Zayin HaMasoram, Zayin HaMomim, inclusive but not limited, also is the Ploshes. Who are the Ovim that were mushmad by the Kaftorim? Who are they? So we spoke last time, we brought the Gemara in Chulin, the Gemara state, Omar Shlokish, Arbe Mikroy Esroel Surfam, the Gemara in Chulin of Samach, Ve'ein Hein Gufei Torah. There's some psukim that seem seemingly superficially that they're, we called Ibaflusik, that unneeded, totally unneeded. But Rish Lakish says, Hein Hein Gufei Torah, this is called Gufei Torah. Gufei Torah. More brings one of the psukim here. It says, Ve'avim hayoishvim b'chatzerim ad azamaynav kemine. So the Gemara that says the Avim that set in the Chatzerim, the Avim, the Chivim, Bnei Knan, set in Chatzerim Adas. What's that? So the Gemara that the Kaftorim came and they took away from the Avim. So the Gemara, what's the Nafkemine? Gufei Torah, what's Nafkemine? So the Gemara, Midash Avimelech LaAvrom, Im Tishko Livelanina Nechdi. Avimelech was the Melech P'lishtim, was made a bris, a pact. They made some kind of a pact with Avram Avinu that he wouldn't, a peaceful pact, a bris sholem. And he said that you, me, and Nini Onechdi, okay? Me and Nini over here means my son, as I state in Al Rishonim. Normally, Nin in modern Hebrew is called a Ureinikol, a great-grandson. And Nin in the Tanakh all over, Nin Veneched is a kinui to a grandson. So grandson is also called a Nin. And in some places, Nin calls Lenini or Lenechdi means to my son, Allah Meforshim say, and to my Nechet. So Avimelech, in Tishkoi Li, for me, Lenini to my son or Lenechdi. 3 generations, you're never ever going to start a fight. Okay? So when Klal Yisrael is coming to capture Eretz Yisrael later on, from Avram Avinu, they're coming to capture Eretz Yisrael. So the Einikel of Avimelech was still alive. Okay, they couldn't be koivish Eretz P'lishtim. So the Gemara, what's Gufei Torah? Omar leifku me'avim da'ainu P'lishtim. In other words, the Kaftorim should take it out of the Avim. Okay, da'ainu P'lishtim, and they Velesa Yisrael Velefku Mikafterim. The same thing we saw last week. There is a detour which bypasses and the Isur. So too here. Not allowed to be kovesh the P'lishtim. Why aren't you allowed to be kovesh the P'lishtim? Because Avimelech melech P'lishtim and gemacht a bris mit Avram im Tishko Lilin Nechti. And since the Kaftoirim have been moitzi from the Avim, which are the P'lishtim, so the Gemara, the Avim are the P'lishtim. So Mimele by Bnei Knan, by the Kaftoirim, by the Kaftoirim taking out from the Avim, Bnei Yisrael don't have any problem in chaperoning with the Kaftoirim. Okay? According to Rish Lakish, this is Rish Lakish. According to Rish Lakish, there's a machlekes in the Gemara. According to Rish Lakish, the Avim are the P'lishtim, which are Bnei Chom, which was in Bnei Ovis. When Azay state in the Gemara also Rav Yonasan. If you look further down in the Sugya, Gemara says a Rav disagrees with Rav Yonasan and Rish Lakish, and Rav holds that the Avim are children of Taman, who was a son of Eliphaz, who was a son of Esav. Totally different. This is from Avram Avinu's Einiklach. It was Eliphaz, who was the son of Esav. One of the sons of Eliphaz, state in the end of Parashas Vayishlach, was Aluf Teiman. Und der Teiman hat gehabt Kinder, aus dem gewähnt der Avim. Also sagt, so sagt Tesis over there in Afanort, in Chul, in Daf Samach, he says that everyone agreed that Kadosh Baruch Hu sent the Kaftorim to take it out of the Avim, in order for Bnei Yisrael to capture the Eretz P'lishtim without being over the shiur of Avimelech. Look at the Mechilta, state Mechilta in the Omfang Pashas, B'Shalav and Luinoch, Amalekim Derech Eretz P'lishtim, Ki Koravu, Kroiva Ashvua Shenish Ba'Avrom Avimelech, Yishav Elokim Tishkali Nech B'Yodechtim, V'Adayin Nech Dekayim. Okay, so Pashtas Avram Avimelech, who was Melech P'lishtim, was from the Avim, and his Einikel was still alive in the Zeit of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Okay? Weist ois from the Gemara that this transition that the Kaftorim took out from the Avim, which is Avimelech Melech P'lishtim is from the Avim, the Kaftorim came and took Eretz P'lishtim from the Avim while Bnei Yisrael are walking in Midbar Sinai. Okay? Azay weist ois from Tesis. In order that when Bnei Yisrael cross the yard and they come to Eretz Yisrael, they'll be able to capture without being over on the Shvuah of Avram Tavimelech. So, according to the Sugya Sagmor, according to Rish Lakish, the Avim is P'lishtim, the Bnei Chom, and Avram made the Shvuah to Avimelech. Avimelech was given an Einikel from the Avim, and he couldn't capture it, not because of anything else, but because he made an Egen Bris, Egen Shvuah, and the Shvuah was still Kayo. And at some time, from the time of the Shvuah till Bnei Yisrael are going into Eretz Yisrael, which is 40 years in the Midbar. So when they go out of Mitzrayim, is Nocham Elokim Derech Eretz P'lishtim, and we find two things. Well, Nocham Elokim Derech Eretz P'lishtim state Michal that they can't conquer it. Why? Because it's still Nechdoi Kayom. B'shas Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Nechdoi of Avimelech is still in existence, and the Shvuah is intact. Afterwards, they come to Eretz Yisrael, Kum Do'arayin, the Eibishter, Zok Yeshua Benun, hey, what happened to Azar, Ashkel, and all the Orei P'lishtim? Apparently, they became mutter throughout the Tkufa. Zok Tesis, that during the Arboim Shana of Klal Yisrael in the Midbar, the Kaftorim came and captured it from Eretz P'lishtim, from the Avim, and therefore, when Bnei Yisrael are coming right now to conquer those cities from the P'lishtim, they're not over the Isur of Avimelech because he changed ownership through the Kibush Milchama of the Kaftorim taken away from the Avim. Okay? But, I mean, it has to be fine. So we understand that the P'lishtim that were in Eretz Yisrael in the time of Yeshua, they were the sons of the Kaftorim that took over from the Avim, and they're not in Bnei Knan. And the reason why they're called P'lishtim, I'm just wrapping up everything we saw till now, it's a little bit complicated. They are not Bnei Knan. The reason why it's called P'lishtim is because of the Eretz P'lishtim. The Ramban said there was Eretz P'lishtim that they took over. They was called Eretz P'lishtim. They were called later P'lishtim. And that was the Eretz that the Kaftorim took over, and it was part of Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because Lamaisa is the original Eretz P'lishtim was dwelled, as we see in Parshas Noach, by the Knainim. So the Knainim went and they dwelled there lechatchila. The Avim, they took it over from the Knainim, and they took Eretz Knan, this Hevel Eretz, which was called P'lishtim, came the Kaftorim and took it over back from the Eretz P'lishtim, from the Avim, and therefore Klal Yisrael is coming and says, Zoi Sa'oretz, as the Pasuk tells us, Hanisheretz lo min ha-shiur, chameshes sani plishtim, the Pasuk tells us, Ba'as ha'azosi, v'ashdoi da'ashkelon ha'giti v'ha'arim, anoichi oirishi mipnei bnei Yisrael atir l'nachlo. Those Orim really were oile. If I look later on in Perek Tesvav, we're going to get to it soon, we'll see when they made a goyrel for the Shvatim, Shevet Yehuda was the one who took over those cities. Asa and Ashkelon is part of Nachlas Yehuda. The only thing is that the actual capturing it only happened after Mois Yeshua, and Afal Pichen, the Kaftorim, which are called P'lishtim, even after Kibush Yeshua, they stayed there. And that's what we have to understand. It says, you didn't capture, you should have captured. It's part of Eretz Yisrael. The reason why it's part of Eretz Yisrael is because really it's Eretz Knan. It went through a detour. And the reason why we bypassed the Isser of the Shavuos Avimelech L'Avram is because Lamaisa there was a detour, detour. And now Yeshua should have captured, but he let it go and he didn't capture. Because Baruch Hu told him Zay Soretz, and he shares, as Rashi says, they still Mimasha Amati L'Avram Nishalo L'Roshto, and only later on Lamaisa takes a tkuf of 300 years. Throughout the whole Tkufas HaShoftim, that we find the P'lishtim come on top of the radar many times over to Chepel Klal Yisrael, and they did not do the full Kibush Ha'oretz from the P'lishtim. And the question is, why? Why in the other Amim, like the Chivi, the Yevusi, Yeshua does conquer, and this Hevel of Eretz P'lishtim, it does not cover? Why is it? Okay. The teretz is because the P'lishtim which lived in that Hevel Eretz, they were Tzetzoim of Mitzrayim and not of Canaan. Okay, the Maisa, the people who lived there, you're right. The Eretz was the Eretz of geographically. If I'm coming to look at the land was a land which was given to Ham, gave to Canaan, and it goes into the Shavuot. But the people who lived in that Hevel Eretz were not Tzetzoim of Canaan, but they were Tzetzoim of Mitzrayim. And Mimele, the Isser, the reason why, there's two parashas in the Torah. There's a parasha you're supposed to capture Eretz Yisrael, but there's a parasha of Hachrim, Tachrim, and L'Sechayim Kol Neshama. And L'Sechayim Kol Neshama and Hachrim, Tachrim, Esai according to Rambam, Esai according to Ramban. We had a shiur, Machlekes Ramban Sefer HaMitzvos. Lamaise, it says only on the Tzetzoim of Canaan, being that the people who dwelled in the Hevel Eretz that originally belonged to Canaan were the P'lishtim, and the P'lishtim were Tzetzoim of Mitzrayim and not of Canaan. There is no Isser of Lo Yisachaya Kol Neshama, and there is no Mitzvah Achim Tachrimim, and under certain circumstances they were allowed to live them living there. Okay? Why Take they let him stay there? Why do they let him stay there? If I look in Sefer Shoftim, in the beginning of Perek Gimel, Sefer Shoftim, state, I'm reading a passage, Ela Gema sheiniach Hashem lenasais bom es Yisrael, es kol asher leyodu es kol milchomes Canaan, rak leman das doiros bnei Yisrael lelamdo milchoma, rak asher lifonim lo yodom, 15 ne P'lishtim, וכל הכנעני והצידוני והחילי יאיש והר הלבונוין מהר בעל חרמון עד לבוי חמוס. And I'm reading again the punchline, the second time the Pasuk says the same thing. ויהי לנאסויס בום es Yisrael לדעס הישמו es מצוויס השם אשר ציווה es אבויסם ביד מוישה. Okay? There is some kind of an nisoyan of test, and that's why they will live. What is it? If you look at the Ramban in Bereshis, Ramban is in two places. Sai in Bereshis in Parshas Noach, and Sai at the beginning of Sefer Dvorim in Perek Beis in Pasuk Chav Gimel. So the Ramban says, okay, it's a very long Ramban. The Ramban says that, I'm taking out a little part of the Rambam. והנה הגבול הכנעני מצידון בו יכול גרור עד עזה הכפתורים שיוצא מכפתור ישמידום והם יושבים תחתיהם והנה הכפתורים שהם מבני מצרים ואינם ממתנס אברהם ארצום של ישראלי מפני שהכפתורים לא קדושו מבני כנען. Rambam says clearly that this, even though the people who dwell there, the kaftorim, are not tzetzoim of Canaan, the tzetzoim of Mitzrayim, yet Artzom shel Yisraeli, I'm reading the Ramban quote unquote, mipnei shakaftorim lochdu oisam bnei Canaan, ve'akosuf shel Omar al Eretz P'lishtim, and the pasuk that says of Eretz P'lishtim later on in Yitzchak's Avinu time, ki lechol lezaracho eten iskol ha'arotz Yisrael, מן הטעם הזה, כי האורץ ההיא אויסו מתחיל לבני כנען. ומפני זה הורישו ישראל בימי ישוע 15 לפלישתים, הזוסי האשקלוני הגיטי והכהני והאבים, שהיו כולם יויש וגבול הכנעני בעזו, באשקלון, באשו ואקרון, ועל שם מקום הם נקראו, כי השמידו האבים שהיו בני כנען, היושבים בגבול הכנעני מצידו בורך הגרור עד עזו. ועל דייתי, says the Ramban, the punchline, האבים הם אחיבים, ועתו ישלים לא הדיענו אז כל ארץ אחיבי שעובדו מהם כי ממנו לאסוב ויסורו לנו ממנו לכפתורים וניקח אסו מהם. Says the Ramban, how did they capture למעשה זה שבוע to אבימלך והנה פלישתים יושבי ארץ כנען ולכן אומר הכוסף דיבר עליהם כנען ארץ פלישתים ועבדתיך מעין יושב. The Ramban brings the posuk that in Tzfanya, that it says there, V'avadetich me'ein yoshev. So the Ramban, that V'chein Yisrael lo yorishu plishtim ad she'over zman hashvua she'meisu shloish adoros min ha'plishtim be'ois ha'orot shel Avimelech. V'chein obo b'medrash, he brings the Mechilte, ki korevu kroivo hashvua she'nishba avrom l'Avimelech adayin nechdo kayom v'hu aroi v'anoch minyan. It is confusing. According to the Ramban says that in the beginning, the Knainim lived in the Zeit von Noach, the Knainim lived there. I'm just wrapping it up. Afterwards, the Kaftorim, which were the Tzetzoim of Mitzrayim, it says in the Pasuk, a brother of Canaan, they captured it. And the reason why the Nachla of the Kaftorim is Nichbash al Yedei Bnei Yisrael, trots them that they are the Kaftorim and not Zayin Almen, there is no Yisur, L'Sechai Kol Neshama, and no Yisur, no Mitzvah, V'achem Tachrimim, right, is because the Nachala of that land is Nachlas Eretz Canaan, which was Muftach LaAvrom, and the time that the Haftocha was given to Avrom, still the Knainim dwelled in that Chevel Eretz. The only thing Shver in the Ramban, which is a Tzorichian, I saw Chaim Kanievsky, Muchitzach in them, Ramban says, Umipnei Zeh, the Ramban we just read, Umipnei Zeh hoirishu bnei Yisrael bimei Yeshua 15 plishtim. And then he says afterwards, Ki Yeshua hu ha-mechabesh es ha-plishtim va'avim. We don't find, with all due respect, versteh nicht, because the Ramban sagt, we don't find that in the entire Sefer Yeshua that the kibush of the south of Eretz Yisrael, that it's in Sai in Perek Yud, which we read, and Sai later on in Perek Yud Beis in the Milchama from Lamed Aleph Melochim, doesn't say anywhere that they captured Orei Plishtim. Fakert. You look at the Pesukim in the beginning of Sefer Shoftim, says Yeshua was not Kaivishem Bizmanoi. After Moisei Yeshua, Bnei Yehuda captured those Orei Plishtim. So the Ramban says, Bnei Zerishu Bnei Yisrael B'mei Yeshua 15 Plishtim Ki Yeshua Umechabesh Es Plishtim. You have to muchatzach. You have to say. So Chaim Kanievsky says that. It doesn't mean that Yeshua B'Poel is the one who captured those Orim, because he didn't. It just means to say that the reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu tells him if this is the Eretz, you have to be Kovish, and this is the Nachla, and there was a time why you weren't Kovish. B'Poel, the Kibush was not done till after Moisei Yeshua in Sefer Shoftim, and not in Sefer Yeshua. We don't find Yeshua himself. Al-Koponim, the Ramban just means to say that being that the Chevel Eretz, what do we have over here? We have a Plishtim, which is the people who are dwelling in the Chevel Eretz, are Mitzetzoy Mitzrayim, which is no din of L'Sechai Kol Nishom Elachem Takrimim, and the Eretz itself is the Eretz Canaan, which is from the Zion Amamim he's supposed to capture. there is in the middle a problem with Avimelech. There's a promise. The question is if it's Kaim and not Kaim. And we have over here a Kaftorim that do a service to Klal Yisrael in order to Metaya Am and the Moyav Tilu B'Sichlit, but the actual Orei HaYemoiri, Orei HaPlishtim, were not captured till after Moshe Yeshua, the beginning of Sefer Shoftim, throughout the Bnei Yehuda.